What's going on, tubes? It is your boy, Will Black Oni Wiggins, here to give you another episode of Through the Lens, a show where I give you a detailed look at games through the lens of an artist. Today, we're going to take a look at the game Street Fighter V and talk about the unique characteristics that set this game apart from others and how that impacts the overall visual presentation. Black Oni. So first things first, the character designs in this game are what can only be described as beautifully hyper-stylized. The first notable thing that applies to all characters across the board is the exaggerated features, specifically pertaining to the hands and feet. Most characters have larger than normal proportions, but all of them have hands and feet that are specifically disproportionately larger than they should be. According to Street Fighter creator Yoshinori Ono, they specifically designed the characters like this in order to make it easier to follow attacks and to feel the impact of each hit much more through those hands and feet. Since characters primarily use the two of those things to fight with, it was an easy design decision to make. Another stylistic thing you'll notice about this game are the large proportions in other places. Many of the characters exaggerate features which are either for the sake of playing to a particular character's strengths, like Chun-Li's larger-than-life legs, or Chedagif's massive mountain of muscle. With other characters, Capcom chose to exaggerate the more sexual or powerhouse features, like Ryu's insanely sculpted chest and arms, or Mika's voluptuous bosom and butt. Characters are purposefully exaggerated to be larger than life, and the game isn't intending to portray a sense of realism in the traditional sense. But that, therein, is the beauty of what Capcom has done with this game's visuals, as once again, everything about the game is meant to be exaggerated, highly stylized. Another thing you'll notice about Street Fighter V's aesthetics are the vibrant colors and beautiful artistic brushstrokes. Capcom artists seemingly took inspiration from their traditional Japanese artistic sensibilities and incorporated a beautiful watercolor and black ink style into the several parts of the game. In the promotional artwork for each character, there's a vibrant watercolor movement which works wonderfully in bringing the characters to life, giving them elegance and intensity. The second place you'll notice this particular stylized approach is in the introduction video that plays before you jump into the game. Good stuff. Next place are some of the EX moves and V-trigger activation, and the critical art animations for each character, with different colors associated with different characters. You'll also notice this 3D rendered watercolor stroke style in the character victory screen. Overall, I feel that it adds a layer of personality not seen in other fighting games, and one that carries the call to the series' strong heritage in the gaming scene. On the flip side, the skimpy story mode is a disappointment in a lot of ways. I won't go into the gameplay reasons as I'll save that for the review. The illustrations gamers are presented with aren't very good. Art, of course, is subjective, but it's very clear that this work was very quickly put together for the purpose of providing some storyboard concept art for an actually fully animated sequence. It's possible that development time and/or money became a factor in what gamers were ultimately given. The concept art often doesn't look that much like their in-game counterparts. Positions and angles are awkward, and many of it seems disconnected from the beautifully created character art and the in-game models. I hope that either that artwork is updated or that story mode is patched with the full scenes they are clearly setting the base foundation for. Speaking in technical terms, this game harnesses the power of Unreal Engine 4, meaning it's taking cutting-edge technology and utilizing it in a way that's very much in line with the fantastic work Axis did on Guilty Gear Xrd, which is still one of the most beautiful visual delights to grace the gaming space. The game runs silky smooth at 1080p 60 frames per second. Capcom producer Bo-chan Kim went on record to say, "Our goal with the next generation of Street Fighter is to make our beloved fighting game franchise and bring it to our fans in the best way possible. In order to fully deliver on that promise, we know we have to incorporate the latest and greatest technology available, which is why we partnered with Epic Games to power Street Fighter V using Unreal Engine 4. According to word on the internet, there are some very specific benefits to Street Fighter V utilizing the Unreal Engine. Some of those are related to material instancing for alternate colors, that you begrudgingly unlock by going through survival mode, physically based rendering or PBR, screen-based ambient occlusion SSAO, strong global illumination, a more fluid animation system, simulated objects for rigid versus soft bodies, and simplified multi-platform porting tools. Characters are animated beautifully, and it's really exciting to watch the action unfold. One notable note about the technical aspects of this game's visuals are the reduced quality in the background assets. I imagine that this game is pushing quite a bit of information and visuals, but some of these backgrounds look rather choppy and not really all that high quality. Of course, many of this can be attributed to keeping system resources low so that online was as smooth as possible, or that upping the polygon count, frames per second, and resolution on many of these background elements would distract from the action going on in the foreground. Could be either one of those things. I'd like to know what you think about that. We even almost got a version of Street Fighter V that was rendered in a much more realistic fashion. Although it would have been interesting to see the game like this, I'm glad they went with this approach to making the characters exaggerated, borderline cartoonish mixed with realism. It would be awesome if we could have a mode or filter during gameplay that made the characters more like their realistic counterparts. Maybe just a costume. Overall, I feel Capcom did a fantastic job of making this title look interesting, unique, and appealing to the eye. I'd recommend some changes to the background elements and perhaps more scene/level transition content, as the only level that has any of that is the bustling Chinatown level. So what do you guys think? Does Street Fighter V have a strong visual representation, or is it lacking in some of the areas that you find the most important? I'd love to hear your thoughts below, and thank you so much for tuning in, and there will be many more episodes of Through the Lens. I am Will Black Oni Wiggins, and I'll catch you on the next video. Game on, and Black Oni out.